Good Wednesday afternoon to you. Hope you're having a great day. Thanks for joining us on Sports4CLE. I'm Dave Bacon. We'll be joined by the Plain Dealer's Tim Bielik a little later in the show, talk a little bit of Browns. But we begin with the D-man, Dennis Manoloff, talking Browns football as well. Browns had OTAs today, organized team activities. They are voluntary. A number of defensive players showed up to get in-person instruction, get used to each other as well. Kevin Stefanski talked about the challenges he put forth to his coaching staff, as well as what the team can get done this week in the OTAs.
I think it's been outstanding. I think what we're focusing on right now is teaching. We are teaching, and the pace doesn't have to be full speed. I think the amount of coaching and learning that's getting done out there has been outstanding. So we really value the work he can get done in a walkthrough, the work you can get done in these individual periods. And then these virtual meetings are a huge component to this. So I see great strides being made just from guys getting some really close attention with the coaches. We all made sure that we worked on our craft. And I think you could talk to our players that we're very specific about what those things are. Working with the coaches, you know how I feel about this coaching staff. It's a staff that pushes each other, and we have to be better. I'm not going to get into specifics, Mary Kay, but I'll tell you that we took it very seriously in terms of trying to find ways that we can adapt and become better coaches. That's something that we're going to focus on every single year, is not just to be stale and stay the same. We want to continue to get better in an individual way, and that should help in the collective way as well.
Let's welcome in Dennis Manoloff, the D-man. Dennis, I love the tone that Kevin Stefanski set right away with his addressing the media and how he was talking about what's going on this week.
Yes, David. I submit, and by the way, thanks for having me on again. I submit that most head coaches would say similar things. You know, I'm proud of my staff, and we work really hard, and we want to improve. But in the case of Kevin Stefanski, given that he is so young in his NFL head coaching career, heading into year 2, it's really good to hear that and to know that there is a lot of continuity for this staff, especially given that as a rookie NFL head coach, Stefanski was in charge while COVID was in full bloom, and there were so many restrictions. So no reason for the players not to think that they're in very good hands with the Stefanski coaching staff. That said, I hope that Kevin Stefanski has watched the divisional round game against the Chiefs a million times, because I still can't believe that 23 points would have won that game and the Browns only scored 17.
Yeah, fair enough. OTAs again mentioned. The defense very well represented in this week's round of OTAs, and one guy that showed up, Myles Garrett, and Garrett talked about the importance of the defense being there just because there's so many new guys.
As a really D-line and kind of as a defense, we decided we need to be there to work with the younger guys, get some working with the coaches, and for everyone to be able to get on the bags, work on their technique, get on some cleats and a helmet. I know it's been a while for some of these guys. So just being able to do that, work on your craft a little bit, and work on the plays so it kind of flows a little bit more seamless than if we were to take such a long extended break from each other and not know each other's tendencies and know how we are on the field.
Best news that came out of today, Myles Garrett says he feels as good as he did pre-COVID.
That's phenomenal news, because we know that Myles came down with COVID during the season and then came back and just didn't look right. Didn't look himself. Looked like he was winded on the sidelines, and he was obviously dealing with COVID ramifications. So, number one, great that he feels tremendous. Number two, terrific that he shows up to OTAs. I mean, I don't hold it against the veteran if he doesn't show up for OTAs, especially in the era of COVID. But to have your big money man, one of your big money men show up and be a leader like that can only help.
Yeah, without question. And another guy that's in person, one of the free agent signings by the Browns, and maybe almost a forgotten man after the draft, Anthony Walker, the linebacker, a guy that by all accounts a huge reason for the Colts defense having so much success. Let's listen to what Kevin Stefanski had to say about Walker, as well as Walker talking about being at OTAs.
I would say, as advertised, you're playing that Mike linebacker position, you're directing traffic, you're getting everybody lined up. You, in a lot of ways, are the quarterback of the defense. And to see him communicate, to see his leadership on display in these type of settings is very impressive. And I think he's the type of guy that we think embodies the type of style of play, the type of person we want in that locker room.
Just get here. Again, first year in a new system, get some new terminology, some new communication, which is huge at, definitely as the Mike linebacker, getting that communication, getting that comfortability with the team and everybody. I think that's a huge, for my job description, a huge step in the right direction. So me being here was pretty much a no-brainer.
And Dennis, I think, we forgot just how important he can be as a middle linebacker that can run and tackle.
Yeah, and I said on a previous show with you, Dave, that he doesn't strike me as a guy with with eye-popping stats or that he makes ridiculous plays every single week, but he's a glue guy. He's a guy you definitely need if you want to have success. And when I don't want to take anything away from anybody else I'm not mentioning when I mention these three guys in particular on the defense, actually four, but Myles, the cerebral Myles Garrett, Walker, the very, very bright guy, John Johnson III, the quarterback of the back end, the Joker, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, him to be extremely intelligent. I'm sure other guys are very, very intelligent on the defense too, but the bottom line is you feel like you have a unit, or Joe Woods has a unit now that is not only athletic and not only, faster than it's been, but can think the game as well as any unit that we've seen defensively in this town in a long time.
And that should just increase the amount of versatility in some of the different schemes that they can play as well. Well, it's kind of interesting. So we heard from Anthony Walker, and Anthony Walker was asked about fitting into this new Joe Woods scheme of defense, and this is what he had to say.
One thing that a linebacker's job description was never going to change, which is, run, tackle the guy with the ball, intercept the quarterback, and sack the quarterback. So that's still the name of the game for my position. So for me, it's the same thing for the most part. Obviously, some ins and outs, details of the defense and what we're trying to get accomplished with certain coverages and everything like that. But for the most part, it's still football, and I got to get off blocks. I got to, cover the guy in my zone or that I have man-to-man, and I have to sack the quarterback or get in the throwing window of a quarterback or cover the running back, whatever it is, and that's never going to change. So a little bit of difference as far as like communication or the coverage fit, but everything for the most part is still playing linebacker.
Linebackers that run and tackle will be hugely popular with Browns fans for sure, Dennis Manoloff.
Yes. Yeah, and preferably make, ridiculous plays sideline to sideline. But I get Anthony Walker's point. He's saying, look, the basics of the game are always going to be the basics of the game. Can you tackle? Can you hit a guy? Can you force a fumble? Can you pick a quarterback? Can you cover? But it makes me feel good as somebody who wants to see the Browns succeed when I know there are people like Walker and Johnson back there who pre-snap can diagnose something and make a change in personnel really quickly. Like you can envision Walker going, hey, I'm identifying something they're trying to do right here. I've seen it on film. I know what this quarterback does on 3rd and 3. So we're going to shift this guy over here or offset this guy over there. That's the kind of stuff that I think Walker additionally brings to the proceedings.
I would agree. In basketball, they call them gym rats, but these are the guys that, hang out, think football, watch film, diagnose things. Those are the kind of guys that it appears the Browns have brought in, which should mean really good things for Joe Woods' defense.
Yeah, there's no question about it. Joe Woods, he's got to be one of the happiest men in the NFL this offseason, because he has seen a serious importing of talented players onto his side of it. And now I think, because I was one of those who was preaching patience with Woods, I know the defense had issues. Yes, I'm not oblivious to that at all, or not ignorant of it. I'm not. I mean, a realist. I get that the defense had issues last year. Yes, they could have gotten Chad Henne off the field on the 3rd and long, and instead he got him for 4th and short, and then they snuck and they got it. Fine, but still, for all the issues the defense had, Joe Woods' Cleveland Browns defense held the Chiefs to 22 points in the divisional round. Yes, Patrick Mahomes was out in the 3rd quarter because of a concussion, but the bottom line is the defense was not giving up 40 points. It gave up 22. So I'm excited to see what Joe Woods can do going forward.
I agree with you wholeheartedly, and now he has a whole lot of weapons to go and play with on that defensive side of the football. D-Man, Dennis Manoloff, now going to take a quick time out. On the other side of the break, we'll take a look at some Browns that were in the top 100 players ranking by CBSSports.com, and an update on Myles Garrett's basketball career. Sports4CLE will be right back. Stay with us.
Life is starting to get back on track, and you can too. If you or your family have experienced financial hardship as a result of COVID-19, Tri-C can help with full tuition assistance. Safely get the in-demand degree or training you need with online and on-campus classes. Go to tric-edu to check out our programs and resources. So, what are you waiting for? Register now for summer classes. Tri-C is where futures begin.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Sports4CLE continues. I'm Dave Bacon. We continue talking Browns football with the D-Man, Dennis Manoloff. Myles Garrett in town for OTAs. Of course, everybody knows he is an outstanding, almost freakishly good athlete. Remember, basketball video went viral. Take a look as Myles Garrett shows just how much of a force he is on the hardwood. Well, Kevin Stefanski had a quick talk with Myles about his basketball career.
He retired. So congratulations on a great career for Myles. Really proud of him. But he's done.
I feel like it's more of like a Jordan retirement. I went to baseball for a second, / I went to basketball for a second. And now I got to go back to what I'm good at, what I usually do, playing football, rush a passer, stopping the run. The next season, you never know. I might go back to basketball. I might go play baseball, see if I can get on a team. But like there's more on the horizon right now. I got to get back to what my main focus is.
Let's bring back in Dennis Manoloff. D-Man, I'm with Kevin Stefanski. Do not let my defensive MVP roll an ankle playing hoops.
Yeah, Dave, you could have imagined this. After the video surfaced of Myles in his dunkathon, the Browns brass, Stefanski and Harry, they scramble to get Myles' contract, and they're looking at it going, okay, what did we preclude him from doing in order for this contract to be valid? Oh, shoot, we forgot to put basketball in there. Oh, no. I mean, because we know of contracts where jet skiing and slalom skiing and bungee jumping that you cannot do. But methinks that basketball wasn't on that list, and it's now an addendum to Myles Garrett's contract. I'm also wondering if it wasn't just Myles has retired from dunking because I think that's what had the Browns nervous. If he wants to play under the rim, Brown, perhaps, even though they claim that it's all basketball, but I think the dunk is what made him nervous, and they started thinking, oh, that's all we need. Our franchise edge rusher coming down and snapping his Achilles after a dunk.
Yeah, and again, I get it. It's a good way to stay in shape, but you look at it and there's just so much more to lose than to be gained by Myles Garrett by playing hoops. So I was one of those guys who's like, all right, let's see how they handle this, and I'm quite happy that he's agreed to at least scale back on the basketball a little bit.
Yeah, David, what the Browns did is a little quid pro quo. They took out basketball. They said, they inserted basketball as a no, but they added billiards. You could do billiards. You could do, darts. You could do bowling. You could do lawn bowling, croquet. Just stay away from basketball.
Yeah, that's the one thing. Make sure your edge rusher is healthy. So CBSSports.com has the top 100 in the NFL listed. This was done by Pete Prisco. Browns have 5 of them on it. We'll start with Mahomes is 1, Aaron Donald 2, Aaron Rodgers 3. The aforementioned Myles Garrett, the top-ranked Brown in the top 100 at number 9.
I mean, that works for me. I don't, I see him as a top 10 player in league, so 9 fits that bill. I'm sure there are some underneath him who would argue they're more impactful than Myles is, specifically on the quarterback side of things. But I agree with Myles, with Prisco's valuation of Myles.
Yeah, the other thing is so there's a big gap. So 9. Next highest is Nick Chubb at 63. So Nick Chubb, 63.
Wait.
63.
63 or 16.3?
63. He was behind Ezekiel Elliott in this ranking.
Come on, Pete Squared. You got to be kidding me. I mean, I like Pete Prisco. I follow him during the NFL season and his picks against the spread. Entertainment purposes only in the state of Ohio. But come on, Pete. You're not going to – there's no way you're going to tell me there are 62 better players in the NFL than Nick Chubb. There are, 29 better players in the NFL than Nick Chubb. And in terms of what he does at his position, okay? Because Nick Chubb is one of the top 3 in the NFL. And he is a skill position player. So that gives him a leg up on, for example, a defensive tackle or a linebacker or even a corner. So, I think Nick Chubb's a top 30 player in the NFL.
Now, the one thing Prisco did talk about is he was questioned about how he had Ezekiel Elliott ranked ahead of him pretty significantly. His thing was Ezekiel Elliott was doing it behind a banged-up offensive line that wasn't any good, and Nick Chubb had one of the, if not the best offensive lines. I don't necessarily know that I buy that, but.
I mean, find me a really good running back who doesn't have a good line in front of him. You say, well, Zeke Elliott had a banged up line. Well, his numbers weren't that good. Look at when he was running behind a really good line. His numbers were really good. So it's understood. It's a given that a running back needs a good line in order to, reach his ceiling. That said, the great ones, such as Nick Chubb, clearly demonstrate an ability to gain yards even when their line is patchwork, or even when a guy's injured here, a guy's injured there. And Nick Chubb, when you watch him run, you recognize that he often rises above what's around, or can rise above what's around him. That's the more important thing. So yeah, I mean, I don't buy right now. I don't buy the idea that Nick Chubb is not as good as Ezekiel Elliott.
Yeah, definitely would agree with you. Okay, so Odell Beckham Jr. ranked 81, the third round on this list.
Well, what were Prisco's criteria? Was he talking career, or was he talking just the last few years, or what? Because
I think it's coming into this year, just where, as he ranks in the top 100 for this year.
All right. Well, I think with Odell, I need to see how he responds to a major injury before I put him back up in the hierarchy. You know what I mean? Because, and I'm not saying that Grant Delpit deserves to be in the top 100. He doesn't. But the same kind of thing, a major injury to a guy who relies on his feet, who needs his, like for Delpit, who needs his Achilles, for OBJ, who needs his legs, needs his feet, needs his knees, needs his groin, the whole deal. I got to see how you come back from that injury first before I put you, in the case of Odell, back into a elite class.
All right, and then two offensive linemen of the Browns make the top 100 as well. Joel Bitonio at 86, Wyatt Teller at 96. So the two guards also in the top 100.
I'm not going to argue that. I wonder how many centers in the NFL are better than J.C. Tretter, especially with Pouncey retiring. And I don't know. I don't have it off the top of my head how many centers are clearly better than J.C. Tretter, but I would like to see if there was some way he could work his way into the top 100. I'm trying to think of some other guys on the Browns who would deserve that mention. The Bake Show's not in Prisco's top 100.
No, and you know what? It's funny you mention that, because we're going to step aside, take a quick time out. On the other side of the break, Pete Prisco will explain why Baker Mayfield did not make the top 100. The D-Man, Dennis Manoloff, and I will be right back. And we're still talking Browns in that top 100 as ranked by Pete Prisco from CBS Sports. Be right back. Stay with us.
Life is starting to get back on track, and you can too. If you or your family have experienced financial hardship as a result of COVID-19, Tri-C can help with full tuition assistance. Safely get the in-demand degree or training you need with online and on-campus classes. Go to tric-edu to check out our programs and resources. So, what are you waiting for? Register now for summer classes. Tri-C is where futures begin.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just a mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
COVID-19 has changed how we show up and show out with our family. Now it's time to take the first step that lets us get back to talking smack with a side of mac and cheese. Before we can safely come together, we need the facts. As COVID-19 vaccines become available, you may have questions. Should I get it? Is it safe?
Should I wait?
It's smart to question. Now, get the facts at getvaccineanswers.org so you can make an informed decision when vaccines are available to you.
Welcome back to Sports4CLE. I'm Dave Bacon. We continue talking Browns football with the D-man, Dennis Manoloff. Before the break, the D-man was asking Baker Mayfield not on Pete Prisco's top 100 in the NFL. Well, Pete Prisco explains why he left Baker Mayfield off the top 100.
I had a tough time with him, and I had him in and moved him back out again, and I just looked at the list and I saw so many quarterbacks in there, and I have to see it again from him for another year. And everything they do in that offense is predicated off the run game. They really make it easy on him. I'm a big Baker Mayfield guy. In fact, I predict he'll be on this list next year. I really do, because I think they're going to be a really good team, and pushing forward, they have a ton of talent. And if they're not going deep into the postseason, then something went wrong. So I do think he'll be on the list next year. I had him on the list, moved him out, moved him back in, moved him out a couple different times, and in the end, I just didn't put him on there.
You're wrong,
Man,
Pete. You're dead wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong. I'm sorry, Danny. I was fired up. I was ready for this. You know, I'm fired up about this one, because I don't usually, say a lot of positive things about Cleveland Browns, but I got to be unbiased. Baker should be on this list, and here's why. He played some of his best football towards the end of last season. I mean, the last 6 ball games of the regular season in 2020, 11 touchdowns, 1 interception. In the postseason, almost 500 yards, 4 passing touchdowns, 1 interception. So the momentum that he has going into this season, not to mention year 2, finally being a part of a structured offense. Baker Mayfield, if he continues to stay focused and dialed in, he's going to ball out once again. His offense will be extremely good, like they were, especially towards the latter part of last season.
D-man, that is former Steelers defensive back McFadden talking about Baker Mayfield. You buying the reason he's not in the top 100?
Dave, do you happen to have the complete list?
I don't have it in front of me. There are, like, Josh Allen was 10.
I wanted you to read me 91 to 100, and I wanted to know if any one of those guys deserves to be on ahead of Baker Mayfield. So, I mean, I'm sure when Baker is invariably asked about Pete Prisco's top 100, he's going to be like, oh, I can't believe I wasn't on that list. I'm going to use that as motivation. But no, I like Pete. He's awesome. He's a legend. I just disagree with him here. And he knows he's going to get a lot of blowback. That's the point, too, about a lot of those lists, is that they're going to get eyeballs. When you have a reputable name like Pete Prisco, people are going to pay attention to it. But once I look at the list, I'm sure I'm going to find guys 91 to 100, 81 to 90, or 81 to 89. And I'm going to say, come on, there's no way they're better than Baker Mayfield.
Well, I'm getting so Kirk Cousins, Kyler Murray, Joe Burrow were in that range that you were between.
Wait. Dave. You gonna tell me that Pete Prisco put Kirk Cousins in over the Bake Show?
Yeah. You asked for 91 to 100. Those 3 quarterbacks were all in that range. So.
I like Pete. I do. I've been telling you this for the last 3 or 4 minutes. I'm not trying to get mad at him, but the only reason that Kirk Cousins is better than Baker Mayfield is because he's been around longer and been able to, compile more stats. Baker hasn't had the time to catch up. But if Baker had the same amount of years in as Kirk Cousins, it's not even a contest. So I could see ranking quarterbacks, a select group of quarterbacks ahead of Baker. In fact, when I was looking at quarterbacks, Dave, whom I would want for the next 5 seasons to win as many games as I could with the same amount to every quarterback. Okay, those were my criteria. Those are my conditions. I listed, I think, 11 quarterbacks ahead of Baker Mayfield. And obviously in my list, a guy like Tom Brady was out because even as great as Brady is in his mid-40s, I didn't expect him to play another 5 years. But Mayfield was like sitting around 12 for me in terms of next 5 years, most wins possible, same amount of talent. And Kirk Cousins was, down around 18 or 19.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, so, we've seen OTAs going on. A lot of the defensive players have showed up there. So Baker Mayfield posted so everyone could see that he is, in fact, working out, trying to get things ready to go. He posted this on Instagram as he is getting ready for the season. And, again, putting the work in so that he can, again, take his game up another level. The other thing I would say about ranking Baker Mayfield, in that scheme of the quarterbacks, I want to see him play in the same offensive system that he will this year for the first time 2 years in a row. So I fully expect him to take a huge leap forward with his second season with Kevin Stefanski. You agree with that, Dennis?
I agree that I expect him to be better than he was last year, and last year he was pretty darn good. But I don't know about a huge leap because he was, his touchdown to interception ratio was fantastic last year. So I don't know how it can get that much better. But yeah, I get your point though. The familiarity of being in the same system with the same staff. This time, a competent staff as opposed to the first the year when he was coming back with Kitchens and the crew. This time I have a lot more faith in Kevin Stefanski and Alex Van Pelt. We will see how Odell Beckham Jr. reintegrates into the offense. And we remember that, truth be told, when Odell was playing for the Browns, Baker had, off and on some issues trying to figure out how to get him the ball enough. And so we'll see how that goes because once Beckham went down, I'm not saying the Browns were a better team, but it did feel like Mayfield's mind was a little clear. He didn't feel like he had to force, Mayfield say, I never force-fed him, and Odell said, I never was demanding the ball. But when you have a guy of Odell's, talent and his personality and his aura on the field, I think as a quarterback, you think, I got to give him the ball. So that goes. I expect nothing but good things from Baker Mayfield if he remains healthy. By the way, the videos I wanted to see from Baker, in addition to the working out, I want more progressive commercials. I can't wait for the next round.
All right. The D-Man, Dennis Manoloff, and I are going to take one more time out. Other side of the break. Did the Browns get a little extra motivation for that Week 1 game by something the opposing quarterback wants to do? We'll also take a look and see some things from the White Sox broadcast with the Indians rookie pitcher James Karinchak. Sports4CLE will be right back. Stay with us.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a line. A long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
At Social Security, we are always thinking of ways to save you time and make things easier. That's why we created My Social Security. A My Social Security account allows you to access your earnings history and benefits information, request a replacement Social Security card, get a proof of income letter, estimate and apply for benefits, and more. Save time. Go online. Open a My Social Security account at ssa.gov/myaccount. Social Security. Securing today and tomorrow.
Produced at U.S. taxpayer expense.
Welcome back to Sports for CLE. I'm Dave Bacon. We continue talking with the D-man, Dennis Manoloff. So, Dennis, Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes came out and said the goal for the Chiefs, 20-0. Does that motivate the Week 1 opponent, you think?
I would hope so, because you can't go 20-0 if you're 0-1. Listen, Patrick Mahomes can say whatever he wants. He's the best quarterback in the game. He's probably still smarting from last year's Super Bowl when his line was banged up and he was running for his life and making throws from all kinds of angles. And, but he's got a Super Bowl ring already in his pocket in his young career. He's destined for the Hall of Fame. He's an amazing player. So, if I'm on the Chiefs, if I'm a Chiefs fan, I don't mind that kind of confidence. But if I'm an opponent and I'm scrounging around for motivation, extra motivation, and of course we know the Browns are going to downplay it, and they're going to say, oh, we want to go 20-0 too. But maybe, just maybe, they'll tuck that away in the back of their minds and say, okay, Mahomes figures that he's just going to roll the ball out there against us in Week 1, and he's going to dominate because he'll be able to play 4 quarters instead of 2.5 like he did in the division round last year. So, yeah, I would. If I were the Browns, I would use it. Yeah.
All right, let's switch gears a little bit. So we're going to talk some baseball, and this is something that was out on social media from the White Sox telecast last night with Indians relief pitcher, closer 1A, 1B, James Karinchak. And take a look at, they kind of push in tight and get a look at what is going on with James Karinchak and inside his mitt.
Take a look at the glove. And take a look at the little black spot he has where the thumb meets the web. And he reaches in there and he gets it both on his thumb and 2 fingers. Now, some of my friends have told me that if you do that, you're going to get a much better rotation on your curveball. Not saying it's there, but you don't find a lot of black stuff inside red gloves.
What do you make of it? A lot of that's going on throughout baseball.
And Dave, we recognize that voice as the great Steve Stone's voice. Brush High, Cy Young Award winner, best friend of Les Levine, our legend, the great Les Levine. So for Stoney to say it, it has a lot of credence to me. This isn't just an analyst who played second base or an analyst who, played left field. This is an analyst who pitched and won a Cy Young. So, yeah, I wonder now that I see what the White Sox speed was doing. And here I keep going back to, I believe it was last week's incident. I can't remember where it was, but the Cardinals were playing, and Gio Gallegos was told that he had to remove his cap by Joe West. His cap had to be out of the game. He didn't get booted out of the game, but the cap did, because the cap clearly had suntan lotion on it. And after the game, Cardinals manager Mike Schilt went, I didn't go bananas, but he was very, very strong in his language. And it was surprising because he was basically saying, hey, MLB, or specifically Joe West, picked the wrong time in the wrong place to do this enforcement. And he all but said, a lot of people are doing it. I just don't know why you picked on my guy. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if any pitcher these days is looking for an edge, even though we know that pitchers are having, the rule of the roosts on balance this year. They're always looking for edges. So are the hitters, of course. But, the gloves, the caps, the shirt sleeves, you name it. So it wouldn't surprise me that a lot of guys are doing stuff.
Yeah, everybody's trying to get the spin rate up, which affects the break and the shape of pitches. So, I agree with you. And I'm told, the Cardinals game that you're referring to was against the White Sox as well. So it's kind of interesting that.
I thought it was.
Yeah. So it's they were clearly on the lookout for it. D-Man, as always, appreciate the time and the insight. Dennis Manoloff, thanks very much for the time.
Dave Bacon, always my pleasure. Thank you very much, sir.
All right, Dennis Manoloff, the D-Man. We're going to step aside, take a quick time out. On the other side of the break, we will continue to talk some Browns with Tim Bielik from cleveland.com, as well as the Plain Dealer. We'll hear from Jim Rome driving the Browns bandwagon coming up. Sports for CLE will be right back. Stay with us.
Life is starting to get back on track, and you can too. If you or your family have experienced financial hardship as a result of COVID-19, Tri-C can help with full tuition assistance. Safely get the in-demand degree or training you need with online and on-campus classes. Go to tric-edu to check out our programs and resources. So, what are you waiting for? Register now for summer classes. Tri-C is where futures begin.
As the COVID-19 vaccines become available, you might be asking yourself, should I get it? And if I do, will I be able to go about life without putting my family at risk? You've got questions, and that's normal. The fact is, the vaccines are safe and effective. They're going to save lives. To get the latest on the COVID-19 vaccines, visit getvaccineanswers.org, because getting back to the moments we miss starts with getting informed. It's up to you.
Welcome back to Sports for CLE. I'm Dave Bacon. Well, one thing about Jim Rome, he has an opinion, and Jim Rome is definitely the driver of the Cleveland Browns football bandwagon.
The reloaded Browns against KC's revamped offensive line. In other words, the AFC Championship game preview in Week 1. Yeah, I said it. Yeah, I know exactly what I'm saying. Browns at KC. Admit it, the Browns are legit. And admit this, I was the first human being on this planet, certainly the first one, with a national megaphone to shout from the highest rooftops that I found America's team, the new America's team, and they're freaking coming. And I was right. And if you want to be right, you'll listen to what I'm saying finally. Yes, they've got a rough schedule. And no, I don't give a damn. Because as the great Monty Williams likes to say, everything you want is on the other side of hard. And the Cleveland Browns and I are not looking for any handouts. Just like we're not looking to take part, we are looking to take over. Man, the league didn't jam them with that schedule, but they did jam them with only a few primetime games. I mean, there was a time when the Browns having 3 primetime games would have been a reason to party. Right now, it's practically a reason to go. It's definitely a reason to feel disrespected. They're freaking America's team.
Let's bring in Tim Bielik from cleveland.com as well as the Plain Dealer. Tim, Browns America's team, are you buying it?
I'd say so. I mean, he obviously said they were America's team in 2019. He said he was the first, but I also say he was a year early today. I think we all know how the hype machine went the first time around in 2019, but certainly the Browns have always been, a driver of attention in the NFL. Even when they weren't good, people were still kind of paying attention to what they were doing. But now that they're good, obviously they're in Super Bowl contention. Jim Rome thinks that the Browns and Chiefs is the AFC Championship preview. It's certainly easy to see why that can be the case. The Bills and the Ravens can certainly have something to say about it, but I am fascinated with what's going to happen week 1 and all that stuff. And with the improved defense, there's no reason to believe that the Browns can't end the season as America's team.
Are you surprised at how quickly the narrative changed? I mean, Kevin Stefanski's first year, people were saying maybe 500 success. They win a playoff game. The roster is upgraded, and now nationally they're viewed as Super Bowl contenders.
I think it's been there for a while. It's just, everybody thought 2019 was same old Browns. That was when the hype began. That was the Odell Beckham trade. That was, they made all these moves in free agency to really bolster the team, and then they fell flat on their face going 6-10. The year later, Kevin Stefanski comes in, alters the culture. Not only do they win 11 games, but they win their first playoff game. They give the Chiefs as good a push as anybody gave them prior to the Super Bowl the entire season. Albeit Patrick Mahomes didn't play the second half of the game, and we don't know how differently that would have turned out if Mahomes was healthy and wasn't knocked out of that game. We don't know that. But certainly, I don't think it went away. I think it was just kind of people out there in hype looking at the Browns is kind of a wait and see thing. Like, show me what you are before we're going to start buying into that. And I mean, the Browns getting into the last day of the NFL, showing the potential that everybody thought they had 2 years prior, just tells me that they're right on the cusp.
Yeah, fair enough. So one of the new Browns we heard from for the first time today at OTAs was Anthony Walker. Walker has a relationship with one of the draft picks, the first-round pick, in Greg Newsome. Let's listen to Anthony Walker about his relationship with the cornerback that the Browns took in the first round.
Yeah, it's funny. When I first signed here, he hit me up and was like, congratulations, everything like that. Like, in my head, I was like, I think he has a pretty good shot of getting drafted by the Browns. I knew where we were picking and everything like that. And I told him, like, man, I think you're gonna be joining me here. And then the day came, and I texted him that morning, like, Cleveland, like, and he was like, I think so too. And then time goes, and he's here now. Definitely excited for him. He's earned this opportunity, to be able to be playing the game at the highest level. He's earned that through his play in college and everything like that. I saw him dominate, play with a lot of swag, a lot of confidence. I thought he's probably one of the best defensive backs to come through Northwestern, if not the best. Definitely proud of him. I'm excited to see, him go out and compete and earn it. And a lot of swag, a lot of confidence. That's what he plays with. And, it's going to be hard to catch a ball on him. I'll say that.
So, Tim, it's a pretty good endorsement from a veteran, albeit one that's an alum of Northwestern like he was. But that's still a pretty good endorsement of the rookie.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if a guy's going to know Greg Newsome well, it's going to be a guy who he played in college with. And I do kind of love a little bit aside that Anthony Walker's clearly got a little LeVar Ball speaking it into existence when it comes to the Greg Newsome pick. But when he talked about, how effective Newsome was, and I remember listening to this, I think it was on ESPN or whatever, they said that he didn't allow a catch on third down the entire season. I know he didn't play only played a handful of games last season with injuries and the shortened schedule in the Big Ten. But I mean, when you play that effectively on third down, and we all know how important third down is. Third down's the money down in the NFL. If you play that well on third down, you're going to have a lot of opportunities to be successful. And certainly Newsome's got all that talent. I mean, obviously he's a first-round pick, got speed, got height, got ball skills. So I think it's going to be fascinating to see how he fits in with the Browns defense.
Well, that brings us to the next topic. So Pro Football, or it's actually the Bleacher Report. The Bleacher Report has position battles to watch for the Browns. Number one, cornerback. How interested are you at that one?
Very. It's going to be interesting because this is a battle of two guys who were the top picks of their respective draft classes. Greg Newsome this year, and then Greedy Williams back in 2019. I'm fascinated where the edge is going to go because both guys they're very similar guys. Both are longer corners. Greedy, of course, coming off the shoulder injury, the nerve problem there that set him back in 2020. We're still kind of waiting to see exactly what he is at the NFL level. And then you got Greg Newsome coming in as the first-round pick. Got all the athletic tools I just talked about. Both guys were very effective at the college level. So whoever is going to be interesting, whoever starts opposite Denzel Ward, we're going to see both those guys a lot as long as they're both healthy this year. It's just going to be a question of who gets the other set of the most snaps between the two. But both of them should be pretty good compliments of Denzel Ward.
Another position battle they have is linebacker, and that one's going to be interesting just because I think there's going to be a number of different packages where sometimes you're going to see three linebackers, sometimes you're going to see two. I think might even be an occasion where you see one linebacker on the field in Joe Woods' defensive scheme this year.
Absolutely. I mean, the moves they made in the offseason to really alter the tenor of the position say a lot about that as well. I mean, we talked Anthony Walker, we saw him earlier. I think he's got an interesting role to play, particularly as a run stopper, probably more in the BJ Goodson role where you see him maybe in a base set more than, in pass coverage. And then obviously Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. There's so much hype about him, obviously, from the last month, and it's easy to see why. Just all the things he can do. It's fascinating where he's going to lie him on the football field. Obviously, they're going to have him out at linebacker to start as the weak outside linebacker. He's got so many fun tools that it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Then, of course, you got Sione Takitaki, who I thought stepped up and played pretty well last season, had the pick 6 against the Eagles. Jacob Phillips is going to get some chances. I think I'm interested in his growth from year 1 to year 2. I thought he showed some flashes. He was banged up, so we didn't really get to see a lot of who he was. But again, late third round pick in that case, you're just kind of looking to see him have some flashes, some moments. And it's just a case of a guy like him just learning the NFL speed and getting adjusted to it.
And then the last one they mentioned, defensive tackle.
Yeah, defensive tackle is going to be interesting because of the young guys behind the two guys we think are going to start. I mean, we expect Andrew Billings and Malik Jackson to be the starters. The wild card there is going to be Jordan Elliott, how he plays coming into his second season. He got on the field plenty as a rookie, but usually with defensive tackles, you always see them struggle usually because they're getting adjusted to playing against grown men on the other side. So I'm curious how he develops in year 2. Does he just blow the doors off at training camp, steal a starting spot away, and kind of live up to some of the hype out there from the LX people? I remember Pro Football Focus prior to his draft had Jordan Elliott, I believe, as a first-round grade.
Tim Bielik and I are going to step aside, take one more time out. On the other side of the break, we'll look at some Pro Football Focus rankings for cornerbacks. Where's Denzel Ward fit in the rankings of the top 10? Sports4CLE will be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back to Sports for CLE. I'm Dave Bacon. We continue talking Browns football with Plain Dealer and cleveland.com's Tim Bielik. So, Tim, Pro Football Focus ranked the top outside cornerbacks in the NFL. Jair Alexander from Green Bay, number 1. Jalen Ramsey from the LA Rams, number 2. Marlon Humphrey from Baltimore, number 3. Denzel Ward checks in at number 8. What do you make of that?
I think it's a pretty interesting ranking. I think, he gets forgotten about sometimes maybe when you talk about the top corners. And I think part of that, comes down to the durability questions. He's never played a full season, had some injuries, but we know what he's like when he's healthy. I mean, we saw it as a rookie. He was a Pro Bowler right off the bat as a rookie, which is just outstanding contribution level. He's been effective when he's played. I mean, for a smaller corner, he is very physical. He's got very good ball skills. He can really take a side of the field away. I think it's all comes down to durability with him. Can he play a full season? Can someone help him out a bit on the other side to take some more pressure away and take the taller receivers off his plate so he doesn't have to worry about those guys?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's I would agree wholeheartedly that the durability is the reason he gets knocked down, in that second half of the top 10. Okay, so Bleacher Report again. Every team's most dangerous new weapon. And for the Browns, they have John Johnson. What do you make of that?
I don't have a problem with them going that direction. I mean, John Johnson was the big signing at free agency. As much as I love their draft class, I think you always have to count on free agency and those guys having a bigger impact right away just because they're established guys. And we know what John Johnson is, and we know what he did with the Rams. I'm actually looking at the same safety rankings. He's actually number 3 on PFF behind Justin Simmons, I believe, and Harrison Smith. So obviously he's got a great pedigree. He's been on a team that's gone to the Super Bowl, got so much tremendous talent, and I'm fascinated at how he's going to really stabilize the back end because we saw how big of a problem the Browns had in that secondary, particularly at safety, especially with Grant Delpit down. How much Ronnie Harrison at least stabilized one position when he was healthy. But now you add in John Johnson, a guy who's one of the better safeties in football. And I mean, the value there was great with what they paid him. But I think just the intangibles he brings, the physicality he plays with, the intelligence he has, have a chance to really turn that secondary around.
It also looks like they'll be able, you heard there were times that the Rams played him as middle linebacker. So it seems like Joe Woods has like the entire playbook of versatility open to him with the guys that the Browns have brought in.
Yeah, I almost feel like it's kind of almost like building Legos. You can move these pieces around all over the place. It'd be kind of interesting on one play if you had John Johnson at linebacker and then move Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah all the way back to safety. And I think that's an interesting philosophy that he's got is creating different matchups because we've seen the NFL become an offensive game. We've seen it become a passing game. And there's only so much teams are going to be able to do in traditional senses. So maybe you got to go outside the box a little bit. You got to create something that other teams don't see often. You got to be willing to try different things. And I think that's why it sounds like Joe Woods wants to go with a base of 3 safeties in his defense, that he's now got all these pieces in the secondary to play with. I'm fascinated what all this is going to look like when we see it on the field. I don't know what it's going to look like week 1. It's going to look different week 1 to first round of the playoffs, second round of the playoffs, whatever. But I'm just fascinated how it all looks because he's got so many pieces to play with. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun to see the Browns actually out on the field defensively and stopping offenses this time. Tim Bielik from the Plain Dealer as well as cleveland.com. As always, appreciate the time and the insight. Thanks very much, Tim. Appreciate your time.
You got it. Thanks for having me.
All right, Tim Bielik. Make sure you read him in the pages of the Plain Dealer as well as cleveland.com. Well, that'll do it for this edition of Sports for CLE. Scheduled guests tomorrow, Dan Lobby and Ryan Mitchell, voice of the Columbus Clippers. He'll give us some insight on some of the young guys up here, as well as who might be coming from Columbus to Cleveland. We will see you then. 4 o'clock tomorrow, Sports for CLE. Have a great night, everybody. See you tomorrow.